intelligent individuals.
That one line kicked off the internet's most dangerous puzzle. But what was the end goal? To recruit? To control? To hack the world? No one ever found out, but someone out there is still playing. It began with silence. No headline, no tweet. Just a black image uploaded to one of the internet's most chaotic message boards, 4chan's infamous X. The image looked plain, white text over a black background. Hello, we are looking for highly intelligent individuals. To find them, we have devised a test. There is a message hidden in this image. Find it, and it will lead you on the road to us. We look forward to meeting the few who will make it all the way through. Good luck. 3301. No context, no follow-up, just that. At first glance, it seemed like a prank, or maybe just bait. 4chan was famous for hoaxes, shock posts, and digital noise. So in those first few days of January 2012, it mostly went unnoticed. But for the few who did stop and look, something clicked. The message didn't scream for attention. It whispered, calm, precise, too deliberate to ignore. And that's what made it work. Within hours, curious users began dissecting the image. Some searched for corrupted pixels. Others opened the file in raw editors. A few checked its metadata. Then, someone found it, tucked away in the image's code. A strange phrase. Tiberius Claudius Caesar says, followed by a string of jumbled letters and numbers. It was a clue, a hidden message in plain sight. Those who recognized it knew exactly what it was. A Caesar cipher, an ancient encryption technique used by Julius Caesar himself, where letters are shifted through the alphabet to scramble a message. Simple idea. But here's where it got deeper. The puzzle wasn't testing how fast you could decode it. It was testing if you even noticed it was there. The image wasn't meant to stump you. It was meant to separate you, to split the curious from the careless, those who just look from those who actually see. After decoding the cipher, a new page appeared. One image, a duck, and a line of text. Oops, just decoys this way. Seems like you don't know how to find the message. A dead end? Maybe. But some refused to let go. A few noticed something in the metadata. 2 words, out and guess. Put them together, and you get outguess. It's a specialized tool used in steganography, the art of hiding messages inside images. That duck? It wasn't trolling. It was camouflage. Running it through outguess revealed a new link, this time to a private subreddit. No branding, no titles, just strange symbols, cryptic posts, references to obscure books and long-forgotten authors. And in the corner of one post, a line that changed everything. From now on, all messages will be signed cryptographically with this key. That's when it turned real. This wasn't just someone dropping breadcrumbs. This was coordinated, organized, and verified, using encryption keys that proved authorship. No trolling, no clout chasing, just silence and structure. And it was only the beginning. Because what followed wasn't just a trail. It was a descent, a rabbit hole, but not like the ones you've seen before. Runes carved into code, hidden phone numbers, real-world GPS coordinates, a countdown clock ticking towards something no one could explain. And then, one final instruction. Be ready, because when the timer hits 0, the game steps off the internet and into the real world. So ask yourself, what happens when a digital riddle isn't just a puzzle on your screen, but a secret waiting outside your door? At the stroke of midnight, the countdown hit 0. The website, blank the night before, suddenly lit up. Coordinates. Not just one. 14 distinct sets of GPS locations scattered across 5 countries. Cities like Paris, Seoul, Warsaw, Sydney. And at each one, the same image appeared. A cicada. Real posters. Pinned to street lamps, bus stops, payphones. Every single one printed in black and white, cold and mechanical, with a QR code. And that same haunting signature, 3301. That was the shift. This wasn't just some internet game anymore. It was physical, real. Someone had gone to extreme lengths to plant clues across the planet in real time without being seen. Think about it. Synchronized poster drops in multiple countries. No leaks, no witnesses, no photos of someone doing it. No one caught in the act. But the clues? Always there, waiting. Some didn't believe it. Others booked flights. Reddit threads caught fire. People searched for anyone near the drop zones. Friends, strangers, anyone who could help. Some paid couriers to go in their place. Others hit the road with GPS in hand, chasing something they couldn't explain. And what they found was eerie. The codes worked. Scanning the QR codes unlocked strange web pages, pages filled with riddles in dead languages, links to audio files, images packed with embedded code. One led to a poem called Agrippa, a 90s literary work that was designed to self-delete after being read. This wasn't just about solving puzzles anymore. It was about decoding culture, poetry, philosophy, ancient scripts, music theory, even runes. Each solution wasn't the end. It was the start of something deeper, more complex, more consuming. Thousands joined in, but only a few moved forward. Because here's the twist. Cicada didn't want collaboration. Each new layer of the puzzle had a silent rule. No sharing, no help, no teams. Players who posted progress online were quietly shut out. Their clues stopped working. Their IPs were banned. No warning, no explanation, just exile. Cicada didn't want the loudest. They wanted the sharpest, the quiet ones who could move alone. And slowly, the doors began to close. Web pages went offline. QR codes expired. URLs died. But then, select players received one final message. You've done well. Create a new email. Use encryption. We'll contact you soon. That's when things got cold. The people who got contacted, they vanished. No posts, no updates, no I made it celebrations, just silence. It was like they got accepted into something and disappeared. Some claim they were recruited, others say they were ghosted. A few argue it was all just an elaborate hoax. But then came round two. Exactly 1 year later, January 5th, 2013, a new image appeared. Same black background, same white text, same calm clinical tone, same sender, 3301. But this time, the world was watching. Subreddits had formed. YouTubers had uploaded documentaries. Thousands were ready. Or so they thought. Because Cicada had changed the rules again. The first clue this time? A custom operating system hidden inside an image file. Boot it up, and it would start counting prime numbers, slowly, one by one, until it hit 3301. Then it would reboot. A loop. But buried inside that loop was a hidden message, and that message led to Twitter. There, an anonymous account was tweeting thousands of lines of what looked like gibberish. But when decoded, it was a binary stream, a compressed file, and once decrypted, using a custom algorithm teased by a mysterious track called the Instar Emergence, it pointed somewhere stranger, to runes. Ancient Germanic runes, a forgotten alphabet, the kind of thing you don't just decode, you study. Again, the community split. Some saw religion, others saw a cult. But even the skeptics couldn't deny it. The puzzles were now psychological, philosophical. A test not just of skill, but of obsession. Days turned into weeks. The deeper players went, the more it felt like the puzzle wasn't just testing your brain, it was testing your limits. Because one mistake, one leak, and you were out. For good. So who were the ones still playing? And more importantly, who was running the game? By now, one thing was clear. This wasn't just a puzzle, it was a mirror. A mirror reflecting the internet's brightest minds, and breaking some along the way. But behind all the codes, the runes, the riddles, one question refused to die. Who is Cicada 3301? At first, the theory was obvious. Intelligence agencies. It made sense. The NSA, the CIA, MI6. After all, recruitment puzzles weren't new. The British government had used cryptographic challenges to hire code breakers. The US Navy had done similar stunts. Even Google once put math problems on billboards to find engineers. But Cicada? Cicada didn't fit. Governments don't play the long game like this. They don't ask you to decode Mayan numerology, study ancient Norse poetry, or find a payphone in Warsaw. They don't create massive campaigns with no logos, no job offer, no press coverage, and then vanish for years. If Cicada was a government op, it was the weirdest, least efficient one ever conceived. Still, the speculation continued. What about Anonymous? Or WikiLeaks? Could Cicada be some rogue offshoot? A side project trying to recruit thinkers instead of hackers? Maybe. But there was no manifesto, no political agenda, no call to action, just silence. Meticulous, elegant silence. And then the theories got stranger. One name kept resurfacing. Joel Eriksson, a Swedish cryptography expert, one of the only people known to reach the end. He cracked the early codes, solved the book ciphers, followed the rabbit hole all alone, and then gone, just like the others. But here's the thing. Joel never claimed he was recruited. In fact, he said the opposite. He solved it. He wasn't chosen. And that's when things got interesting. Around the same time, a new cybersecurity startup quietly launched in Canada. Its name? Cicada. Suspiciously similar to Cicada. A stretch? Maybe. But then Joel joined the company soon after it launched. Coincidence? Possibly. Or maybe he created the game from the beginning. Think about it. Who else could have built this? The puzzles weren't just clever, they were engineered. Someone knew exactly how long it would take to solve each one. Someone printed and planted posters across continents. Someone embedded ciphers in sound waves, built a custom OS, and wrote a book still unsolved after a decade. That's not luck. That's architecture. And if you were the architect, if you were Joel, what better way to escape notice than to solve your own game, then quietly walk away while the world chases shadows? Suddenly, it's not just a test, it's a show, a performance, a magician vanishing behind his own curtain. But here's what's unsettling. If it was all a game, why the silence? Why go dark after 2014? If it was about recruitment, why ghost the winners? Why create something so elaborate, only to walk away? Unless that was the point. Some believe Cicada was never meant to recruit. It was meant to filter, to watch, to see who showed up, who persisted, who cracked, and who disappeared, like a psychological trial or something darker. Others go further. They say Cicada wasn't a puzzle at all. It was a cult, or the beginning of one. The poetry, the runes, the repeated themes of silence and enlightenment. It wasn't just cryptography, it was doctrine. Some even compared it to ancient mystery schools. Knowledge hidden behind symbols, progress earned through silence, and truth reserved only for the worthy. One player put it best. It felt less like solving something, and more like being initiated into something I didn't understand. And maybe that's the truest thing ever said about Cicada. Maybe it wasn't searching for the smartest. Maybe it wanted the most devoted, the most obedient, the ones willing to follow every step, never question, and disappear when told. Because remember, at one point, Cicada instructed players to leave their homes, to follow orders, to act in the real world under unknown direction. Why? Why leave the safety of the screen? Unless the goal was control. First, you solve, then you follow, then you obey. Without even realizing it, you're not just playing a game, you're surrendering. So if this was a test, what were they really testing? Your intelligence or your willingness to comply? That's the part no one wants to talk about. Because if Cicada 3301 was never a puzzle, then the real question isn't who they recruited. It's what they recruited them for. Some puzzles are meant to be solved. Others are designed to break you. And in 2014, Cicada 3301 dropped something that felt less like a challenge and more like a wall. A final exam. A locked door with no key. They called it Liber Primus, Latin for first book. It wasn't teased. It wasn't announced. It simply appeared, buried deep in the third wave of clues. Not a riddle, not a link. A book, 58 pages long. Written in runes. No cover, no intro, no explanation. Just one line. Do not believe anything in this book except what you know to be true. And instantly, players realized this wasn't a puzzle. This was doctrine, a manifesto, a philosophical snare. Not something to read, something to decipher. And they tried, for weeks, then months, then years. They chipped away at it. But most of the book? Still unreadable. The runes were ancient Germanic. But the encryption? Something entirely different. Layers upon layers of ciphers, hidden in syntax, structure, even in musical notation. It felt engineered by someone who despised clarity and worshipped control. Still, they kept going. What little they translated was unsettling, quiet, meditative. Lines like, a warning, believe nothing, only truth can be trusted. And, your pilgrimage has begun, enlightenment awaits. These weren't clues, they were commandments. Page after page whispered the same thing. Don't speak. Don't share. Trust only yourself. Trust only Cicada. But it got stranger. Mixed within the cult-like tone were bursts of something broader. Fragments that sounded like a creed. Like this wasn't a game. It was a cause. It spoke of freedom, privacy, resistance to surveillance, a rejection of censorship. It warned of deception, of control, of being watched. And then it said, the answers are in you. For some, that was profound. For others, deeply disturbing. Because who writes scripture in code? Who creates doctrine in a dead language and only reveals it to the most devoted? That's not a company. That's not a collective. That's something else. And the strangest part? Liber Primus never ended. After months of silence, Cicada returned, just once more. But not with new puzzles, with a reminder. The book must be decoded. Its words are the map. Its meaning is the path. Then, silence. Again. That was 2016. Since then, nothing. No riddles, no posts, no coordinates, just the book. Sitting there, watching, mocking, unbroken. Cryptographers attacked it. AI models dissected it. Still, nothing. The final pages remain sealed. Why? Because it's more than a cipher. It's a test of faith. Not just intelligence, belief. Belief that there's an answer, that there's a path, that it's not all a trick. And that's the brilliance, because if the book is never solved, then Cicada never dies. It becomes legend, a digital myth with no origin and no ending. Maybe that was always the plan, because something odd happened. Over time, the players changed. The threads slowed, the forums emptied, but the book remained. People stopped chasing answers and started worshiping the question. Liber Primus turned into a scripture, a ritual, a quiet obsession, and for some, a conversion. There's a growing belief that Cicada wasn't trying to find minds, but to mold them. You weren't meant to win, you were meant to evolve. And here's the darkest part, a theory that's gaining traction. What if Liber Primus isn't unsolved because it's hard, but because it's a trap? What if Cicada never wanted it cracked? What if it was designed to be unsolvable, just to see who would try anyway? Who would trade time, sleep, sanity for nothing? That's not a riddle. That's psychological warfare. But there's another theory, the most chilling one of all, that someone has already solved it, just not us. That the book was cracked, the final message received, and the chosen one, gone, quietly, silently, vanished. And if that's true, if the end was real, then so is Cicada. The message is real. The game is still running, and the clock may still be ticking, because somewhere out there, Cicada is still watching, still waiting, and maybe still playing. By the time Liber Primus went cold, something strange had happened. The players, the real ones, the obsessive ones, weren't just solving Cicada anymore. They were chasing ghosts, following shadows, hunting for patterns that might not even exist. The game had transformed into something more than a puzzle. It had become a belief system, a whisper network, a digital myth with no clear origin and no confirmed ending. And that's the thing about unsolved mysteries. They don't fade, they mutate. Over the years, forums shifted, Reddit threads died off, but the whispers never stopped. Occasionally, someone would claim they'd cracked another page. Others would post new clues, only to be debunked within hours. But once in a while, something would appear. A file, a message, a signature, using the same cryptographic PGP key Cicada used years before. That alone was enough to reboot the obsession. Suddenly, people were decoding again, translating, hoping, believing. Because if there's one thing the internet does better than anything else, it's chase ghosts, especially the kind that whisper back. But zoom out for a second. What was Cicada 3301 really about? Was it a recruitment tool? Maybe. A cult? Possibly. A test of obedience, obsession, and patience? Almost certainly. But above all, it was a mirror, a reflection of who we become when no one's watching. Some players chased it for the thrill, some for the glory. Others, quietly, just wanted something to belong to. A purpose, a mission, and Cicada gave them that. A path. Even if it led nowhere. That's the part that makes Cicada terrifying. Not what it revealed, but what it refused to reveal. No interviews, no leaks, no closure. Just that one line, repeated like a commandment. We want the best, not the followers. But here's the catch. Everyone was a follower, even the best. They followed clues, they followed GPS coordinates, they followed instructions, and eventually, they followed silence. So here's the question no one wants to ask. What if the puzzle wasn't about recruitment at all? What if every post, every click, every decrypted message was part of something else entirely? Not a hiring campaign, not even a test, but a study, a global experiment in human behavior. Because think about it, Cicada never said they were hiring. They said they were looking for highly intelligent individuals. But what kind of intelligence? Logic or loyalty? And remember, at the final stages, the rules were simple. Say nothing, trust no one, obey completely. Break that trust even once and you were erased. Not punished, not warned, just gone, as if you never existed. That's not how companies behave. That's how belief systems work. And maybe that's the answer. Cicada wasn't a puzzle. It was a philosophy. One that demanded silence, submission, and sacrifice. And the scariest part? It worked. Even now, people are still chasing it, still decoding fragments of Liber Primus, still combing through code and metadata and archived threads, still waiting for a message, a signal, a clue that they were chosen, and maybe that's the genius of it. You never really know when it ends, because the final message might already be sitting in your inbox, or maybe it expired 10 minutes ago, or maybe, just maybe, there is no final message. Maybe that was never the point. Maybe the point was to make you look. And if Cicada is still out there, still watching, still waiting, then there's only one question left. Will you be the next to play? So here we are. No ending, no prize, just the silence and the mirror. Maybe Cicada 3301 was a puzzle. Maybe it was a cult. Maybe it was a recruitment tool. Or maybe it was none of those things. Maybe it was just a whisper, a game with no rules, no scoreboard, just one rule. The moment you stop playing, you lose. So what do you think? Was it real? Was it dangerous? Or was it something deeper? A test not of intelligence, but of obedience. Drop your theory in the comments, and if the next message comes, would you follow it? Like, subscribe, and remember, some puzzles don't want to be solved, they want to find you.